And they said, no, 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 we're not even doing anything over there. Don't go
So
over
those are the
there.
worst bleachers. Those bleachers are scary.
No, no, the home
The
side,
home side
the
is
guest
good.
side are actually in pretty, they're in better shape.
So the guest side is the one, like if I'm walking into the stadium, the guest side is the side that's facing us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
those
far
are
side.
scary. They are like, yes, to walk in
Oh.
there, it is
They're in
scary.
pretty good shape, but they just suck at 2x6.
Yes, they're
Okay.
scary.
It's like walking
They are scary.
I agree.
Yes. Okay.
They're fine.
They are not. They are terrifying.
This isn't right. This is weird.
You talked me into it when I saw you in the hospital that day. You're talking about, oh, negotiations is so much fun. I left there and going, I need to go back.
Man, I was trying not to get me drugs that day. I don't remember that part of the conversation.
Wishful thinking, we'll see if you're happy with your decision.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have a bunch of information that we want to share with you guys, and I think it's pretty positive.
Okay.
We've been working a lot on House Bill 215 and the STARS Act, and I think we have it figured out. I think we had a lot of misconceptions about it, quite honestly. So we think we have that figured out. I think it's pretty positive. But if we can have you guys start, I think that would be just super. Starting, I think more than anything, I think we need to have a lot of communication on what's taking place with these two bills, if that makes any sense.
Which two bills? You said one.
House Bill 15 and House Bill 252.
Which one is stars?
Versus stars.
Stars is 252.
What's 15?
15 is an inflationary increase
Oh,
for your general budget.
gotcha. Okay. All right.
So it feels good. I still have that.
Stacy has a very good handle on all this as far as the financial side. I think it's just a lot of open communication. We're going to have to work together. And the other big issue is on this that we have to have it signed by May 15th, and we all.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that, from what I've been told, the OPI is going to send out a survey if the schools are going to use or meet the requirements for the STARS Act to use that money. Everything that I've heard is that we don't have to be settled by then. We just have to agree that we're going to reach those thresholds to meet the STARS Act.
Yeah, we have to sign a memorandum of agreement and have it in the collective bargaining agreement. There's some for.
And that's by May 15th? Sorry.
Tracy, Stacy, that's my understanding too. It has to have a signature for the CBA. But if we did, I guess my thought on this, if there's a disagreement on this, I'm not sticking on with 2 feet. I'm standing with 1 foot because we can just clarify a lot of this. There's a lot of information on it. That sounds fair. So.
So when we met, okay, we know that there's a teacher shortage, and we know that we're kind of secluded. So in an effort to what? We are kind of. So LEA negotiations here is attempting to make Libby Public Schools more attractive in an attempt to recruit and retain new teachers, which are the future of Libby Public Schools. We want to make Libby a destination place for young teachers to stay here and raise their families here. So we're going to provide you with several options that we think can enhance recruiting for you guys. In an attempt to prove our salary matrix, we need to find savings and reduce costs. While we don't want to lose quality experience and veteran teachers, currently we have 29 of our 76.34 all the way down, and next year we'll have 33 out of 76.34 all the way down, and that's going to take over 50%. Those 33 teachers are going to be over 50% of our salary cost. But we don't want to lose them, but they do account for a huge portion of where we are. you know, in an attempt to reduce that high cost, when we were looking at that, I talked to you to see if on March 17th, if the district was maybe wanting to offer a retirement incentive to try and help reduce some of that cost, because when we saw it, it was like way overloaded, the scattergram, way overloaded one way. And at that time, we weren't or you said you didn't have any plans on offering a retirement incentive at that time. Um, so, you know, these other things that we have, you know, we'll just be going through and, you know, talking about some options that we think can enhance everything, you know, to make it more recruitable, because we know we need to do that with the teacher shortage. We got to try and draw that. We want to have an applicant pool that we can choose from, and not just take the first person because we don't know if they're going to take another job someplace else, or, you know, or hiring teachers. I don't honestly know how the teachers that are on provisionals are doing over at the elementary school. I don't get over there, you know, but I think it's, you know, I think in the future, if we can, we want to hire teachers that have an education degree and have that background. And if we can do some of these things and work in that attempt, it'll be better for us.
Mr. Dean, when you say 29 to 33, is that people that are eligible to retire or people that?
No. That's just people that are all the way down on our salary matrix. So they're all the way over BA plus 90 or master's maxed out, and then down to year 16. Yeah, there'll be 33 next year from the information that we got. We have 29 now.
How many years does it take to get maxed out?
17. Yep, 17.
But we're heavy on the far right.
We are heavy on the far right and the far left. We don't have much middle. No middle ground and stuff. And you know, that's kind of concerning too. Here's a table of contents of some of the things that you are welcome. Some of the things that we would like to talk to you guys about. Some of them are just some general communication stuff, and some of them are some of the things that we think that we can work together as a negotiating team, the school and the union, to try and enhance what we're doing here.
As of next year, 11 of our staff could retire, including 47-year-olds. I'm just saying.
I already told they wouldn't take it.
That's,
You're 47, that's right.
yes, this year. So that's how many that retirement thing could affect, or
Hey, we were at council yesterday,
To make
Coach
that
Mullen and Coach Hall.
Yes.
80.
Do we have?
I'm feeling young.
What? Well, the first one I just talked about. That's the one where we had.
We're down on.
We're going to start on Article 6 duty year. Maybe.
Lingstad, was he there when you were? Somebody Falls when you went to school. Lingstad.
Nope.
Okay. He was like 80.
Yeah.
So you wound up going to Hamilton and came back.
right here, this?
Yeah.
Do you need me to go make
No.
copies?
It's got to be there somewhere. We'll start here.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. The first one that we would like to talk about is some proposed contract language change within Article 6, Section 2, talking about the calendar and the calendar committee. You're welcome. You're welcome. So the bolded part is currently what our currently what our contract says, okay, and what it has stated there. What we are proposing is to try and make things a little bit more clear cut with the calendar, and working towards that. In the proposal section, the first sentence, which is a really, really long sentence, the English teachers would not like it. It's a run-on sentence. The calendar shall be established prior to March 1st. The proposed calendar shall be submitted to the board and the association by a calendar committee, which shall be composed of representative of the association, representative of the classified staff, board members, the superintendent, and his or her designee. The second sentence is what we would like to add to our contract language to try and help make it a little bit more clear cut for what we want to do moving forward. So the district, with prior input from the association, shall submit to said association a copy of the proposed school calendar at least 2 calendar weeks before its scheduled adoption by the board. The association may confer with the district regarding the school calendar and shall have the right to confer regarding any changes in said calendar, including the effect, if any, of such change on bargaining unit members. We just wanted to be able to, we feel, and it's a perception. I would say that. I would say it's a perception. We feel as a union bargaining committee that our say or our proposed, okay, what we want for the calendar is not maybe compared similar to the community, but we think that what we would like should be weighted a little bit more, and this allows us to have the calendar come out, and then for us to look at the changes and talk about it and go from there. You know, we feel that the union isn't listened to as well as the community. Okay. For instance, this year when we did when the survey was done by the school, it was everybody. It was all members of the community, which also include teachers, but there wasn't a separate one that was done by the teachers until I did one or to kind of look at that. If you look at Rosars and Cabinet Peaks, they serve the community the same way that we serve the community. They don't poll the community on when they're gonna be open and closed and what their hours are. I think that we think that the union needs to have, whatever our proposed calendar needs to be weighted heavily in the consideration. And like I said, it can be a perception, and you guys can tell me if that perception is wrong. But the perception is, and it's been discussed by a lot of union members, is that our say isn't weighted the way that we think it should be.
What was the survey? We surveyed staff on the calendar.
It was, oh goodness. I should have brought that information with me. I didn't, because it had already been adopted, so I didn't even bring that information. If I'm recalling correctly, because it's been a long time now and I've gone through a lot of information between then and now. It was probably 2/3 to 1/3 the calendar that was adopted by the school board. What was that? Was that March? Was that March that happened? I think the March school board meeting. Yeah, I think it was a March school board meeting. So we want to propose that change in language to the collective bargaining agreement.
But you're still saying that the teachers will come up with the calendar.
Yeah, the committee. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, the committee comes up with the calendar, and then the calendar comes out, and then it gets to the teachers, because this year and for several years it hasn't been just a separate teacher survey on which calendar they want. It's just been a survey that we sent out this year on Parent Square. This year was on Parent Square. which is amazing because we can hit everybody. It's really, really handy. Yes, it's really, really handy. We can hit everybody. But we feel that, you know, the teacher's recommendation should weigh a little bit more than just the normal Joe walking down the street. What do you guys think?
You talking everybody or us?
You guys. Yeah, you guys. Yeah, the district negotiating team.
My first question probably would be, I worry a little bit about 2 weeks before adoption, final being enough. Like, if we suggest changes and then you guys have time to come back to us, like, sometimes that takes time with schedules and different things are going on. So that would kind of, that's my first, like, uh-oh, that might not. As a board, we might have to make a decision before all parties can be heard from, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I understand. That's why, you know, when the calendar committee meets, you know, I think this is going to set a better timeline. This calendar committee needs to meet sooner so that at least 2 weeks. Like I agree, if it's gone out to us 2 weeks before, probably going to be a little tough. You know, so
We as the board get it.
yeah.
We get your suggested calendar.
Oh, yeah.
We say, okay, we don't like this. just
No.
for instance.
Yeah.
And then you guys want to come back, like, I'm
Yeah.
afraid of that 2 weeks. If we only get it 2 weeks before we vote on it, that 2 weeks is not going to be enough time to
I-
even take. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but that's why it says at least. I mean, it could be a month, it could be a month and a half.
But I'm also know how sometimes school things work.
Oh, yeah.
And it's last minute right there. If that's the deadline, that's when we get it. So I just worry that it wouldn't be enough time, would be the biggest thing.
I think
So
it
I don't
was-
know if you could say 30 days before or whatever. You can set whatever timeline.
Right.
That was kind of my big red flag.
And I think that's up for, I mean, it's called negotiations, you know, for a reason.
That was my only
Yeah.
problem with it.
Well, but you could see if it's going to be an issue. I also think it was very helpful for that calendar committee to meet earlier rather than later. And so we would already have something set before Nick went to establish the sports calendar thing. So he had to work around that instead of us working around his stuff. But
Well, especially if we're doing a year at a time.
Yeah.
People like to know. You know.
Yeah.
Teachers included, parents included, a little more in advance than a couple months, so.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, so I think, you know, that's definitely up. We could go at least 4 weeks to give us time.
Well,
You know?
That was like, at
Yeah.
this point, that was kind of my first thought reading through it is just knowing how things work. 2 weeks is not gonna be enough to kind of chit chat back and forth and meet and different things like that. If it comes down to that.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
so.
And so then that would just give us time. So, we will, we'll write that down. And then when we talk as a negotiating team, you know, we'll take that into consideration and then come back with that, with you guys. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right.
And I don't know what anybody else's thoughts. That was just something that I.
Well, we're just talking and getting information.
Yeah.
So I would add something on the calendar committee, which quite honestly has been a thorn in my side forever. This year, what we did is, I mean, I thought it was good as far as, number one, we sent out the calendar, not the components of the calendar. And I thought that was pretty good for people. And then the other thing that I thought was really good is as far as putting the survey out to everybody. We didn't discriminate between teachers and I thought that was I actually thought that was a good idea, just so we, instead of say, what happens if teachers, it was like, I want to say it was like 180 people that took the survey. It was a bunch. You remember on that?
I don't remember.
It was a bunch. But no matter what you do for a survey on that, I think they're cheating or they're not cheating or it's just always a mess. So
It's nice to have people have a voice.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying don't do the survey. I just think, we think that, you know, the union members also need to be surveyed separately. And that information needs to be taken into consideration with, when the school board talks about the adoption of calendar A or calendar B, or usually it's two. I haven't seen one with more than two, but,
Yeah, two should,
yeah,
don't do more than two.
yeah, so,
Spring break.
so yeah, so we'll take that recommendation of 4 weeks we'll take that, yep, we'll take that recommendation, to 4 weeks into consideration. And then when we meet and talk about that, we'll come back and let you know. All right? Anything else on the calendar?
We may have to be really looking over.
Of course, yep. All right, our second thing with Article 6 duty year, okay, is parent-teacher conferences. Okay? Parent-teacher, yeah, you're welcome, parent-teacher conferences. So I did do a survey with all of our members, and currently, like I said, you know, up there, the bold is currently what we have, 2 separate days. And just talking about it, you know, we didn't think we needed 2 separate days, because we didn't get any pupil aggregate hours on those days. It extended. You don't have one? I did, but I didn't have one. Oh, it didn't extend. It extended our contract by 2 days. We surveyed the staff. 87% of the staff wanted to go to 1.5 days of parent-teacher conferences. So, you know, looking at that, and then with all of our calendar stuff and the tentative calendar, well, I guess it's kind of tentative, but it's not kind of tentative calendar that was sent out, you know, it already has it scheduled for 1.5 days, for parent-teacher conferences. So, we would like to propose, the change that the district shall provide 1 separate day from 11 to 6 and 1/2 afternoon session from 3 to 7 for the parent-teacher conferences to be taken from the 7 PIR days.
It counts for two, you know, right? 2 PIR days.
Well, PIR days honestly are everything now in the state of Montana is really broken down into hours. So PIR, you have to have, it's the maximum by the state is 42 hours. 18 of those hours have to be professional development. The other can be PIR. So really, if you look at this, what it is, so from 11 to 6, that's 7 hours. That's an hour-long lunch, because a PIR day can only be 6 hours of contact time. And that's from the Montana Annotated Code. So you got 6 hours and 4 hours. That's 10 hours of the 42 that we have to get as a district. We have to get, and that actually counts towards those 42 minus 18, 24, right? Yeah. So those 24. Where's the math teacher? Did I get it right? Okay. That'll be 10 of those 24 hours that we have to get on the PIR side, and then we also have to get at least 18 hours of professional development, which the school district provides through the first, you know, part of the first few days of school. And then with the new school calendar that we have, every full month, the second or third Wednesday.
One of them.
Half day.
No, but the second or third Wednesday
What day in the calendar?
of the month. Is it the second Wednesday of the month? I think it's the second Wednesday of the month.
Wednesday's an early help.
Oh, Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, second Wednesday of the month, where it's a half day of school for the kids, so they're out at like 12, I think it's like 12:15, 12:20, depending on the school. And then there's 30 to 40 minutes for the teachers to get collected, and then the PIR is from 1 to 4. PIR/PD is from 1 to 4.
Technology bullshit.
So,
Just said, I've seen a lot of things being pulled out of a purse, but not a school calendar.
A school calendar.
Old school.
That's right, old school.
So,
And this isn't a biggest deal at the elementary school, but like at sixth grade and up, they would have to decide how they'd run all those conferences and how it goes, you know, that the more needy kids, they could schedule first and then maybe do that round robin thing in the gym for the kids that are doing well and run them through, but yeah.
that was our discussion after parent-teacher conferences this year.
Was that enough time this year or too much time?
You know, with our teams, with our middle school teams, the discussion was because, you know, a lot of people at the high school, middle school, high school level, we allow people to sign up on, I can't even remember what the program is called anymore. So, yeah. So, you know, usually what happens is the 3.0, 4.0 students, you know, they're the parents that are checking on them that want to come in, you know, that you don't necessarily really need to talk to other than, you know, just praise them along as you go. So our conversation at the middle high school is that we want to sit as teams, and these are the parents that we want to call and schedule and come in, that we want to talk to, instead of letting people sign up. And then once we call and schedule them on that full day, if we have some open slots, then we can open that to parents that want to come in. And then that afternoon session would be the round robin in the gym, which we had done for 18 years. We had done that round robin in the gym from 3 to 7, where we have all the teachers out there. And then that would allow those parents to come in and to go around and see those teachers on that evening session. But we would schedule the full day, the 15 to 20 minute sessions that we have with people that we need, that we want to see. You know, we would sit as teams.
Everybody you need to see done in 6 hours?
Yes.
As a team?
Well, the thing is you're not going to get everybody to come in. You know, people that, you know, we've tried people, we hope, but I know we do. We're going to call and we're going to request that to have that and try and get them to sign up. But some parents are going to tell us, no, it's not going I'm not coming in. You know, and that stuff happens. That stuff happens now. Individual teachers call and ask, and we still have people, you know, that, well, one of two things, that will sign up and then no show, ghost us, which stinks double, because there's a slot we could have used for somebody else, you know, or they tell us to go fly a kite. They're not coming in.
Or you can do phone
Josh, I
conferences.
had thought that you all had said before that you didn't like the round robin. Am I misunderstanding? I thought that was one of the things.
That is not something that I am aware of, because honestly, because that was the only thing that I knew. Because for 18 years I had done it that way, so it's like, okay, this is how it's kind of done.
Several comments about, and it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah, and then
curious.
honestly, when we got done with it, because of a lot of our junior, seniors, teachers, and even to an extent sophomores, 7, 8, 9 was busy. It was. I have 7, 8, 9. I was busy. Okay, but we weren't able to get those people to come in, and so our teachers, it basically turned into a work day for them. So what we were trying to do, so that it wasn't necessarily a work day, is to try and come to some sort of compromise, and to also help out the calendar. Okay, because we had to extend our year by 2 days because we had 2 days of non-pupil aggregate hours. That we could come to a compromise with the 1.5, which, like I said, 87% of our people wanted that, moving forward with our parent-teacher conferences.
Something, I know that traditionally, but the conferences that are a little harder, that you have to talk about a little more serious things.
Yeah.
That was one of the drawbacks of that.
And I think
gym.
that's what I'm really
And so-
hearing, Kelly.
Part of what this would solve is those needed to be a little bit more contained and maybe even take a little more time to talk through. We would have those scheduled ones. And then that gym setting of kind of other people around, and that overhearing, there's just a level of privacy maybe for some of the conferences and getting all the teachers together when you're kind of saying the same things. I think it just kind of balanced that maybe a little bit. This thought.
I'm gonna, because this was my first year doing that team approach with everybody, and it was really nice instead of the parent going around, I think, and hearing the same thing from 4 different teachers. You're hearing it once, and it's not taking an hour of your time, it's 15 minutes of your time, and you're hearing all these teachers saying the same thing. Hey, we're concerned.
And make a plan as a team.
Yes, I appreciated that approach.
Any other comments? Mr. Goodman, you guys sat down in that calendar committee and it kind of went back and forth a little bit on where to put those days. And I don't even know where it started, but I know where it ended. It ended on November 6th and 7th, which are two of the 3 days that we're hosting volleyball divisionals next year. And I think Nick made that recommendation, so there wasn't a whole bunch of students in the building. We would request to move parent-teacher conferences to the next week. We don't want to devalue parent-teacher conferences by having them during that tournament. Some families, we have a hard enough time getting to come in. And if that parking lot is full with cars from all over the Northwest A and they have to park out in Timbuktu, they're just going to we think they're just going to keep driving, because that parking lot's going to be full because of the volleyball tournament. We don't want to devalue parent-teacher conferences. We see it as a very useful tool to help our students. So when we sat down as a negotiating team and talked about that, we didn't think that was a great idea to do that. And then we don't want to devalue the divisional volleyball tournament. Hopefully our girls get an opportunity to play in that divisional tournament. There's play-in games that they have to, play-in games possibly, okay? Or if you're the top 3, you automatically go to divisionals, and hopefully if our girls get that opportunity to compete at that, I think it would be great to have kids in the building and be able to have a student section to cheer on our girls, and to be able to have like the junior high volleyball teams, upstairs to watch what it's like and to be able to get excited about that. And if we have parent-teacher conferences on those days, one of those days we're not going to have any kids in the building because it's a full day out. And so we don't want to devalue either one of those for our volleyball team or for our teachers and parent-teacher conferences. So we were just looking at that and possibly would make a recommendation to maybe move that to the following week.
So originally that was the goal. That was the pitch. This was a better day for that, right?
That is my understanding. I was not at that calendar meeting, but that was my understanding by talking with Mr. Raywerts about that. But I have gone back and had several conversations with him, and some of those same things that I just discussed about don't devalue either one of those, because they're both important in their own right. Especially parent-teacher conferences, because we want to see those parents. We want to talk to them. We also need to, if we're going to host volleyball divisionals, we also have to run volleyball divisionals, if teachers are the ones that usually help and volunteer to run things along with community members. And if we're tied up in parent-teacher conferences, it's going to make it that much harder for Nick to be able to run a quality volleyball divisional if he can't get help. I mean, we're trying to run a track meet on Saturday, and I finally today feel good about the help that we have, you know, and I can't even imagine running a divisional tournament with what's it going to be? 8 teams? Yeah, with 8 teams, and managing all that without a lot of help. Okay. All right. Next item under extracurricular compensation, Appendix B. Currently, this is what we do. Currently, this is what we do for our speech and drama program. Okay, we have a travel coach that we have compensated. Not sure how the current compensation works for the travel coach, but we feel for those activities, sports that have one head coach when they travel, that it's really, really important to have somebody with them in case something happens. And this is kind of what we currently do. And we just want to add the language to Appendix B. We had probably an hour-long discussion on how to make compensation fair. Equal doesn't work. Equal's not really a good word when you're doing that, but to make it fair, and we couldn't agree on anything. And I don't know what the current agreement is with the compensation with the travel coach, like they did this year with speech and drama, what that looked like. And going from there, but we just want to add that language, and then we want to work with you guys and get information from you about what the compensation was and kind of work towards whether it a percentage, a stipend per trip, you know, whatever we want to do with that, so that we have that available for our activities that have one chaperone, one adult going with them, so that they can have you know, better supervision. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So that really does just affect golf, correct?
Golf, it could affect golf. It could affect speech and drama, and it could affect cross country. Well, we're kind of, we'll get to that. It's interesting. Yes and no.
But those are the three activities.
Those are basically the three activities that we would look at. And honestly, I don't really know how like Mr. Lewis's band trip to Seattle went. You know, this one time. I don't know if he was the only person or if there was other people with him. Okay, yeah, I'm not real sure how that works, you know. Yeah, okay. Now, keep in mind with Appendix B, just because it's in the list doesn't mean that it has to be flown. I mean, in the list we have a twirler advisor. I've been here 20 years. I haven't seen a twirler team. You know, it's in there, but we don't post it. We don't advertise it. And like Mr. Raywords had the conversation with, I think it was at an agenda meeting. No, sorry, switching topics back to travel coach. Mr. Raywords had the conversation, I believe it was at an agenda meeting, that if there was an activity, a sport with one head coach and they wanted to have this, that he had, I believe it was a Google document where they could ask for this, and then it would come to the school board if it was deemed an appropriate request by the head coach. It would come to the school board, and then to be able to approve that to go on the trips, on the travel trips.
So would that even thinking in terms of like divisional tournaments when you're taking smaller numbers of kids, even basketball, I mean, if you were gonna be able to, a short. Would that be also a thought?
Say that again?
So like, we're going to like a divisional tournament.
Yeah, divisional basketball.
Small number of kids, and you're saying I'm a coach, and I'm gonna have somebody else go with the drive or something like that.
To drive, or if there was
Or-
an accident, and they had to take someone to the hospital. And
But I mean, usually in that situation, like when we went to our play-in game this year, you know, the assistants would go to. So it's not really for multiple coach sports. It's really just for singular coach sports, for travel trips, chaperones, driving, you know, like speech and drama. They take the logger buses sometimes. And I know Mrs. Lee, when it was just her before she got that, she had requested to have a Harlow's driver drive the bus, just to be safe. Um, and you know, and then like I said, golf, and then the possibility of cross country, depending on what happens with that. You know, once again, it's not something that we're going to put a posting. You know, if the coach thinks that like I need some help, I need some help.
Like a substitute teacher type of situation, or?
Well, see, like we had a lot of discussions. Like I said, do you make it a stipend? Well, if you make it a stipend, let's say we were looking at golf has 10 away trips, and what was the other? Speech and drama has 7. Well, is that fair? No, one's going more than but they're getting paid the same amount, but also you signed up for it, you know, or do you pay by trip? But if you do that, if you pay, let's just throw out a number just for talking sake. If you pay $100 per trip, well, if if golf is going to Kalispell and speech and drama is going to Browning, how's that fair? You know, or do you make it a percentage, and how does that work? So like we had a bunch of discussions. We don't know. We want to work with you guys and what your thoughts were, and possibly what we currently do, if we could get that with what we did with speech and drama this year, where you guys could get that information, you know, afterwards, and come back and we could come to a consensus. Like I said, I think equal is out of the window, but if we can make it fair, that you know, something that we could agree on that could be fair.
So I guess that's one of my, you know, obviously the vans and the short buses are way cheaper than a charter bus or even any kind of bus. But again, you have that situation of
Liability.
yeah, and that whole issue of, you know, what happens, and you know, and again, the short buses aren't exactly cheap either. There's a lot of maintenance that goes on those.
Yeah.
We want to keep those up. But that I think there is fruitful ground there to be able to say, you know, I mean, how many times we're going to have 10 or less kids on some events? I think that's a big number. I think so.
You know, so it's in our yeah.
14 is what I'm-
15 with the drive.
Yeah. So we just wanted to, you know, it's something that we currently do, and to help out our singular coach sports, and we just want to add it to Appendix B, and we want to talk to you guys about, you know, to a compensation for that, and what that would look like, and come to a consensus.
If there's an emergency and the coach has to go to the hospital with an athlete, what do you do with the other 14 kids? I mean,
They drive.
well, I mean, but you can't just leave them on the bus unsupervised either.
So yeah, it's just so.
So with that, even as far as, like you said, chaperones and parents and stuff like that, I mean, I get that, you know,
See, okay, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
yeah, I mean, I look at that, I think getting those people, who would those people be? I mean, I think parents would be willing, like, me, son, you have to go. I've been trying to get drivers. I had one person who was like, I thought would have been really good, and then he comes out, he has cataracts, can't drive at night. So yeah, even that, finding that extra driver is difficult.
And once again, like, you know, the process for this, and the process that has been, is it's gone to the activities coordinator. The head coach has gone to the activities coordinator and the activities director. And then if they, and then the principal, and if they deem it, you know, that it's warranted, then the recommendation is made to you. It's not, you know, in the situation, you know, it's not just there just cause, it's there if we need it, you know, and we believe there's some certain situations that, you know, that we need to have supervision and coverage, and so we don't get ourselves into trouble. Or like Mr. Goodman said, you know, you drive all morning, you go and coach golf, or you're working with kids with speech and drama, and then you got to drive home that night too. That's a long day. But if you had somebody with you in this capacity for chaperoning in case something happens, you know, there's an emergency, one can go to the hospital, one can stay with the rest of the kids, and then you have a second driver to be able to pair off so that you don't have to push yourself in order to get kids home, or, you know, do things like stop at Town Pump and get a bag full of sunflower seeds, and so keep yourself awake. Done.
You could almost come up with like a substitute list of the drivers that you know, when something came up, you ran in a list.
I think it'd be easier to find a list of chaperones. If that makes any sense. Because I've tried to get drivers.
So I don't really know Mrs. Lee's situation, but that was just one person that committed to the season for travel. Is that accurate?
She was an assistant. Yes, she was an assistant.
She's an assistant coach.
Oh,
Back to my point.
oh, I did not realize that. I thought it was a travel coach. I did not realize it was an assistant.
So back to my point, that was the deal. I think the bigger issue is it needed somebody to chaperone and do all that kind of stuff. So that person would, in that situation, could replace the coach with a travel coach.
Exactly.
Yes.
In that situation. Yeah.
Agreed.
Especially with the situation like Mrs. Lee was in this year, with such a small team of individuals, you know, that we could do that and to work from there, and to be able to give her help too on away trips, which 10 of the 11 are away trips. We host one speech and drama, you know.
Yeah. No,
I mean, so, yeah. Okay. So that wasn't so cross-country assistant
So I think that
was a coach. Okay. All right.
Music.
Okay. All right. Second thing under extracurricular compensation. Okay. Sorry, a little slow over here. Is the request had been made by our high school cross-country coach to add the language for middle school cross-country coach. Now, keep in mind, like the twirler advisor, just because we have it in the list doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, the administration and the athletic director and everything has to approve it and fly it and go from there. But currently what we have, there's a high school program and a middle school program. There's a high school head coach, and then there is a high school assistant coach. The high school assistant coach basically ran the middle school program and assisted the high school coach at the same time. We do not, in our appendix B, we do not have the language for a middle school cross-country program, middle school cross-country coach. All of our meets that we go to, our cross-country meets, I shouldn't say all of them, most of them are both middle school, high school. So it doesn't add any transportation into our budget. It doesn't add more there. It's basically, we're already doing this. It's that we don't have the language within our appendix B with our extracurricular compensation to be able to add that. So then it's there when we need it.
Do we have an actual I mean, I know we run one, but do we have any language or any lists, an actual middle school cross-country program?
I don't think that there's a list of that, is there?
There's a head
list.
cross country, but not a middle school one.
In the appendix B within the list of the coaches and stuff, there is not that language. we're proposing to put that language in at .06, which is current or concurrent with all of the other head coaches within the middle school program. The head middle school volleyball, head middle school basketball are all .06.
I mean, because we do, like I said, we do have a cross-country middle school program that we run, but technically, it's never.
No.
Exactly.
Any formal, hey, can we have a cross-country program?
Yeah, so this was, this was one of the things that was brought up to the negotiating committee, and, from Dr. Katzer, obviously, we all know that, to be able to see if we could add that language into our Appendix B.
So, Josh?
Yes.
You said we have the high school coach, we have Dr. Castor, who also helps with the middle school.
I would probably say yes. All head coaches have a hand in their feeder programs with what goes on. So I would say yes, she probably does. What?
Who does the middle school program?
So the history of this is, and I'm not sure if it was Rod Temple or Rod Zeiler. Was it Rod Temple that initially started? Rod Temple initially started to bring middle school kids on the program, and he just brought them in and accepted that, those kids, and it was it was his choice to be able to work with those kids and take those kids to meet and go from there. And then it continued with Mr. Zeiler, with Rod Zeiler, and then it has continued with and it's grown. Each year it's grown. It grew with Mr. Zeiler, and now it's continued with Mrs. Katzer, or Dr. Katzer, and it has continued to grow. And I believe it was 25 high school and 20 middle school kids that were running. In with both the high school and the middle school, there were several. I was looking through the list the other day. I think there was 6 or 7 homeschool Christian school kids that would come and run within our program, mix of high school and middle school. So yeah, so that's kind of the history of that.
So we're
Going
not
forward.
saying here that we should pay the same person 2 salaries.
Exactly. No, that is not what we're saying. That is not what we're saying. No. We're just proposing to add the language in there, and like I said, just like like we don't post a twirler advisor, or an intramural sports coordinator. It's in there in the case that we deem that it be appropriate. And like I said, the request by the coach, and then the athletic director and the athletic coordinator and the principal, make that recommendation to you guys, and then you guys make the recommendation, yes or no, off of that.
If the numbers can determine that need is there.
So it's kind of what we've been doing. So we just wanted to be able to add language to have it there in case it's warranted. Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay. Next.
I'm still.
No.
I want to see one of you guys go out.
We want to see that.
Twirler. Yeah.
I want to see that one.
Oh.
Yeah. That's right.
So we,
Yeah.
under number 2, underneath extracurricular compensation, okay, we currently, like Mrs. Snow said, we hired an assistant cross-country coach. They hired an assistant cross-country coach this year, but we do not have an assistant cross-country coach listed in our Appendix B.
We hired an assistant cross-country coach this year.
We did. We hired an assistant cross-country, Melanie Corteau, hired an assistant cross-country coach this year, but we currently do not have an assistant cross-country coach in our Appendix B. So this is basically what we're doing already, and we just wanted to add that language into the contract because it's what we're doing.
Jeremiah a volunteer or was he actually paid also?
Mr. Jeremiah was paid also, yes. And he was in the same similar position that Coach Courteau was. He was listed as a high school assistant, but basically ran the middle school program and assisted Dr. Katzer with the high school program. And if knowledge serves me right, both of those assistant coaches, Mr. Jeremiah and Mrs. Courteau, were at the rate of 0.08. With that. So, I mean, we initially looked at this is it can actually, if we hire, well, we've already hired. We have a high school cross country coach. And then if we have a middle school cross country coach, then those programs are taken care of. And then the athletic director and the athletic coordinator and principal, with the request from the head coach, if they want to have an assistant, and then once again, it can be yes or no. Those are all voluntary positions deemed appropriate or deemed not appropriate, and then the recommendation comes to you. Okay, these aren't things that we have to hire. If we hire head cross country and middle school cross country and not a high school assistant, if that's the way that it works, then we're actually saving 0.0. It's pennies in the bucket, but it's actually saving money versus costing money.
And I'm assuming they practice.
They do. Yep. But I would imagine obviously that depending on the level of the kids, there's a little bit different regimen, because we do have some really high level cross country kids, we have had for the last 3 or 4 years now, and that we have them in our track program now. Our distance kids are the backbone of our track program. Yeah. Mrs. Well, I will use you here. No, I'll just give you 6 for us. Mrs. Sutera Leston, before she decided to retire and go on to greener pastures, there was talk between the driver's ed instructors and the district about possibly increasing the hourly rate that they are. Currently, they're at 24.92. And Leslie had sent out an email to several of us. I'm not sure who was all on that email about if this needs to be or should be within our contract language. We did some research with just kind of in our region, Northwest A area, that some have it in their contract, some don't have it in their contract. It was requested by our driver's ed instructors to put in our contract. This was a late addition to our negotiating team, so we really don't have a proposal for you now, because it was actually Friday. It was a late addition. I said we will consider it. I threw it out to the team. Team's like, we don't have enough information, so we said that we would propose it, or we would have it there for that language, possibly adding the language of a driver's ed. And then the next time we meet, we would have a proposal for you, because we were not able to meet and to discuss what that would look like.
And why is it under extracurricular?
Because looking through the contract, I wasn't real sure where else to put it.
Okay.
Appendix B is all the coaches and stuff. The addendum is just on years of experience. Extended day compensation.
Could be Appendix C,
Extra
yeah,
composition.
somewhere in there.
Compensation.
It's, oh, okay. Yeah. So when we were looking at it, we're like, we're not really sure, but we'll just throw it here and go from there.
We have it on our list to talk to you guys about that too.
Do you think it fits under Appendix C?
I don't know, we can talk about that. But like I said, it was a late ad by the request of the driver's ed instructors, so we weren't able to meet and discuss it.
I think it's a good idea.
What teachers do you have?
We have
Lynn was doing it and she's not.
we have Mr. Germany and Mr. Roisin. Oh, okay, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know if that was.
It's okay, we don't expect you to be in there driving around.
Well, no. Oh no, I'm not stepping in a car with teenagers. I gotta teach those freshmen all day. There's no way I'm getting in a car, even if it has an extra brake. No way. You can't pay me the money to do that. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah, like I said, we weren't able to meet and because it was so late and stuff, and so we can go over that. We do have one more item under extracurricular compensation. Extracurricular compensation. Yep.
Yeah, they're not way ahead there. Go draw some arrows.
So once again, the bolded is currently what our contract says. So in all of our, everything that's percentage based that we have, Appendix B, Appendix C, I think it's Appendix C, okay, or the Appendix B addendum, not Appendix C, the Appendix B addendum, and then on the salary matrix, the longevity, the national board, and the masters is all based on a multiplier. The current multiplier is 35,925. Traditionally, the multiplier had been the base salary, step 1 BA plus 0. In 2007, 2008, when we starting teachers on step 2 and step 3, in order to try and entice teachers to try and bump up the starting salary to attract applicants and move on, we really didn't have a base. The salary matrix started on step 2 and step 3. There was really no base. So the multiplier went to what the base would have been in those years. From there, it's kind of got lost in the shuffle. It's bumped up from then. I believe it was like 28,180 then in 2007, 2008. And it's kind of got lost in the shuffle. Now that we have a true base, our proposal would be to raise the multiplier to to the base salary. Traditionally, that is what it was, but it kind of got lost in the shuffle when we, like I said, when we started to manipulate our salary matrix, which was the right thing to do at the time, to attract teachers. When Kyle and I came in 05, 06, there was a true base at that time, but it was kind of what we did this year with our teachers. It was a 3-year average, and you were at that 3-year average for 3 years before you moved up. And then it moved in 2007. Like I said, in 2007, 8, there was no step 1, and in 2008 there was no step 1 or step 2. It was all 3.
So what are you saying? You want to move?
So the recommendation would be to move the multiplier to the base salary.
To the 38,451?
Yes, that is the current base salary. Yep.
Next.
Next. Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't know. I was waiting to see if I was letting them read and look at it and if there was any comments or anything. Okay. Next, Article 18, extracurricular hiring procedure. This is currently what our contract says. Here, you're welcome. And you're welcome. You're welcome. What's up?
I'm just kidding.
Oh,
She just wanted to hear you say you're welcome again.
oh, you're not welcome. Um, so we wanted to talk with you, about the extracurricular hiring procedure. We see a conflict between the extracurricular contract and our contract. Um, do we know, Mr. Goodman, do we know where that extracurricular contract came from? Where we got that from?
Before me, I don't know.
Well, okay, because when we first started doing the extracurricular contracts, you know, it was just the salary and then you checked the boxes of what months you wanted to get paid, and then it turned into the extracurricular contract that it is now. Do we know where that came from? Where we got that from?
I'm not sure.
I don't know who made the change.
So explain that to me as far as you check, as far as when you want to get paid, is that the deal?
Well, no, that's what it used to be back in the day. So, so we see a conflict, on number 5 of our extracurricular contract. Says termination of employment. The district may terminate this contract for cause at any time during the year. Insufficient student participation as determined by the board or their designee shall constitute good cause for termination of this contract. So,
Do you mind if I go make a copy so that you can see what it looks like?
oh, yeah, I would just ask
Your
that,
name?
well, it's not my, yeah.
Here,
Um, Oh, so that number 5, where it says the contract can be terminated for lack of participation, we feel that directly conflicts, with our contract hiring procedures. For instance, here, I coached football in the fall. We were rehired at the January board meeting. We're rehired. Okay, so football comes around and we have 25 kids come out, and the board doesn't deem that we need however many coaches, and they cut a coach. But we've already been rehired at the January board meeting. It's a conflict of interest with what it says in the extracurricular language, that your contract can be terminated, and we feel that it possibly could be opening up the school district to litigation and wrongful termination.
But, okay, now I'm getting kind of confused.
That's all right.
We also have something in there that says if a coach is not needed, an extra coach is not needed.
Something in where?
Not in the collective bargaining agreement. That's a separate contract with somebody. We don't know who wrote up the extracurricular one. You'll get a copy now. That is not in the collective bargaining agreement, the document you have now.
No, it's not.
Right.
So we
So is it
just
legal?
see a huge conflict, you know, and that's just one situation. You know, for instance, we have,
But Josh,
Yeah.
just to follow through on that, let's say, hopefully this is never gonna happen.
I understand,
But
I
let's
understand.
say There are 4 of you that are hired for football coaches.
Okay.
And 20 kids turn
Okay.
out. So we're gonna keep 4 coaches for 20 kids? I mean, does that make sense?
Well, I think
Gotta get more coaching.
I think what he's trying to say, tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Is that, say, speech and debate had 15 kids the year before, they come into the new season and there's maybe 6 or 7 kids. It doesn't make sense to approve them as a coach in a board meeting prior to them being the coach, and you've approved 2 coaches for 7 kids. That happened last year. Is that where we're going with that?
No, not really. I mean, but it's, so, I mean, like I said, in the situation with football, let's go back to the situation with football. We've been rehired. We've been rehired for football.
Right.
Okay, so like you said, there's whatever number you want, 20, 25 kids that show up. And I mean, if we could, financially, if we could afford it as a district, wouldn't we love to have 2 to 3 teachers in a classroom? Because then the kids would be getting better instruction. They could get more one-on-one time. Why?
Let's not equate that to
Why?
football. Let's take that off the table. Let's just say that if you have 20 or 25, do you think, I guess I'm asking what's your suggestion?
We're suggesting, the proposal is to follow what the contract says, what our CBA says. Be, that if they're hired, okay, like, let's go back to football. If we're hired and 25 kids come out, we're still hired. We're still hired.
So,
This is what it says, we're hired.
so if we do not agree with this, we would want to take out that the fall coaches would not be hired in January.
Well, I mean, we would have to negotiate something,
Just
or
like we're negotiating here.
yeah, or
That's what I'm saying.
negotiate to put this in, because do we have any grounds to negotiate the language within this?
Well, we
because-
have grounds to negotiate it. We can't.
It's not in the LEA, so we don't have grounds to negotiate it. So, but we see a direct conflict within it. Now, what I will say, let's take
You didn't answer my question.
Oh, I apologize. What's your
Okay,
question?
I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm saying that if we are saying that we don't think that should happen, i.e. 20 kids out for football and 4 coaches. So our way of remedying that would be to say, not to hire the fall coaches in January, not to hire them until August. Is that correct?
I mean that's something that, the negotiating
Well,
team
I know, I'm
could-
just
could-
asking,
could-
is that not correct?
I
That-
understand that it's a
Well,
conflict, but what's your solution? What are you asking?
But would there
Well,
be
so-
expectations of, I mean, we've already done things with football kids for the last several months. If we're not gonna be rehired, hey, wait till August, you guys figure out where, you go to your own summer camp. We're not taking you to team camp because we might not have enough kids in fall, and you're gonna send us up.
I
The other-
understand that, Tim, but it sounds like have your cake and eat it too. I'm getting a little confused here on exactly what you want.
We want the governing committee to follow the language within the contract. And if we get rehired in whatever it is, what sport, whatever year, that we're rehired, what?
This
Yes, and then that's what we want. Now, what I will say, like, let's talk about boys basketball this year. We had 2 paid coaches. We had 2 paid coaches, and then we had a volunteer coach. All right. So, for instance, here at the May board meeting coming up, the next board meeting coming up, it will be the recommendation to, well, I don't know, I haven't talked to Nick. I may not be recommended. Let's just say I'm going to be recommended to be rehired. That Kyle and I, the assistant coach and the head coach, are going to be recommended to be rehired. So that's at the May board meeting. All right. Now, let's say in June, we think that we're going to have enough kids in basketball to have 2 separate practices and 3 full teams, and we want a 3rd coach because we think that we're going to have that. That June, if we look at basketball, that June is past the May board meeting. So we can post it if it's recommended to post it and hire that person. And then, since that person has been hired after the May board meeting, okay, because we think that we're going to have numbers, then they can be subject to number 5 within the extracurricular contract, because they have been hired They have been hired after the recommended date. Well, that's on here. But if we are rehired at the recommended board meeting, then we're rehired. We're rehired. Well, I mean, once again, I don't know, I'm not real sure where this came from. Like Stacy said, it's been around for quite a while now. I don't know where it came from. And, you know, where it was manifested. You know, if it was something we borrowed, which, you know, there's really not anything new anymore. You just borrow it and adjust it to what works for your situation. Or we can put this within, our contracts, so then language can be negotiated. So do those two situations that I discussed between football and boys basketball, do those make sense?
Yeah, so the situations are hired, and then the next thing you know, there's not enough kids, and then we're saying with this contract is, well, we don't need you. But what you're saying is, once you're hired, you're hired.
Yeah, this says you're hired.
And that they already
Yeah.
put all that work in.
Yeah, this says you're hired. Right here, our contract says you're hired.
But
You know?
wouldn't that kind of like, wouldn't that, because numbers have been such an issue, especially with basketball.
Yeah, yeah.
Wouldn't that kind of force the board to say, well, why don't you go with 3? And then.
Right, if we need another.
You know what I mean? Because if we know you can't let somebody go, and we're worried about numbers, basketball's easier for me to comprehend.
It's okay, yeah.
Yeah, like, wouldn't we just go with 2, say, hey, yeah, these 2 are hired?
But that would be, yeah, and that's your guys' prerogative with any extracurricular position, you know, within that situation. But I just don't understand, like Coach Hodel said, okay, we're rehired for football. You know, we've got a coach at 6 a.m. every morning that is opening the weight room for our kids to get in the weight room and get stronger. They're putting in the time, and then we get to, which I think this is the language from Mr. Raywards. We get to the first 3 days in football. We get to August 12th in football, and we have 25 kids. And so, sorry, Coach Stapley, you know, we're gonna have to let you go because we don't have enough people.
Well, but what you said would ratify that.
Yeah.
I mean, it always has to be.
It's always been.
We've had many discussions.
Oh, I know. I know. Yeah. So when it boils down to it, the proposal is to follow. We would like the school board, to follow what the contract currently says.
So you want this to be gone?
Or updated, or
Yeah.
look at again.
We can't negotiate this because it's not within any of our stuff. I don't think it needs to be gone, but if this is something, I don't think it needs to be gone, but if the language within this directly conflicts with the language within our contract, then we may need to alter language. I'm not saying get rid of it. We may be okay. We're going to add this to our contract, and then we can negotiate language between the groups.
I thought this was interesting because one of the things that I got explaining when I first moved here is almost inevitably in fall sports, there's like, we have more kids that came out and we need more coaches. And I was like, I've never seen that. And so I don't know how we could ever skip through that as far as so we could get, so, you know, because we're short on coaches, and I'm like, how do we not judge that? Does that make any sense? And I just, year after year after year, we don't have enough coaches.
It becomes tougher and tougher to judge too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, in fairness to the coach
20
too.
years ago, though.
Yeah. Oh, true.
I was like, wow, I've never seen that before.
In fairness to the coach, and so you want to let them know or her know soon enough. I mean, if they're not going to be rehired,
Yeah.
maybe they want to head somewhere else. But oh, wait a minute, now you're going to come up in August and go, geez, Coach, we can't coach football this. Well, geez, if I would have known that, I would have applied over at Kalispell last spring. And we have a hard time keeping coaches now.
Yes. So I'm just curious as far as what does the school district do with that? I've actually, quite honestly, I worked in a lot of school districts. I've never seen where there's a shortage of coaches or a licensed coach.
You know,
Does that make sense?
I could
It's like,
reach out on Masbo.
that's
and ask
my,
On what?
Masbo.
What's that? Oh,
it's the business office people.
the business office. Oh, okay.
School Association, Monday School Association.
It's
So
the
there-
people that run everything.
So the people that run everything.
Forum of what schools actually choose,
Got it.
so that you might be.
We're here, right? I thought you had the right.
You know, what works best,
Tim.
so I'll ask them.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
No, that's only come out in the last,
Few years.
well, since 2010 was the first time I saw one. From the records I have, it used to be just where
Yeah.
3 months that you're on, we get paid.
It looked like it was just printed off of Microsoft Word, or it said, this is what you're getting paid. What months do you want to get paid? Check them.
It probably needs another look.
Yeah. So, all right.
Just curious, where, I think it was Linda, what's her last name?
Yeah.
Linda Leo? Leo Yaba.
Leslie just adopted it.
She's sort of neighbor growing up.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. So we'll move on to Article 8, payday.
Stacy.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
We'll be talking with, yeah. Stacy, feel free to,
Jump in.
if I'm wrong, let me know. Just going off the information that I have.
I hate to say this, as a principal, I kind of joke about with this, why don't you do something about that? But I know it's difficult, and it's more complicated than we think, I guess. Better. What I will say is this much, we've had this conversation, because like I said, I used to give Mr. Graham a hard time. I said, Mr. Graham, why don't you negotiate that? Come on, listen. And he'd get mad and then I'd run. But what I can tell you how other school districts, they pay in arrears. That makes sense. So
No.
like, as a new teacher in Idaho Falls, you didn't get paid until you get paid second month, so that they didn't. So I'll let
Do they still do that now?
What's that?
They still do that now? Or
No.
I don't
I would guess no.
I don't do it here, no. Yeah. All right, go ahead, you explain first, and then I'll tell you why I'm
And be gentle, guys, she's shrinking you.
It's all right. It's all right. Hey. So I've said before with all the papers, in the bold is currently what we have within our contract. What our proposal is that each teacher may elect to receive his or her contract salary in 10 or 12 monthly installments, with the unpaid installments payable on the last work day of school. So if teachers basically work 10 months out of the year. We feel that as the teachers are working, they should be paid their salary as they're working. If they want to get paid 10 months, with the 10 months that they work, so then they can have their money and they can invest their money and they can be financially responsible with it. That they should be able to have that option. And if people know that they're not financially responsible, then they can choose to have it in, I don't know, I feel really rich in June when I get 3 checks. But if they're not financially responsible, then they can choose to have it in 12. You know, in this day and age, especially with our young teachers, you know, and the cost of everything coming right out of college and not really having a whole lot of money built up to be able to have that money as they go through the 10 months, because there are a number of, especially young teachers and even some older teachers, that actually find in those 2 to 3 months in the summertime, 2.5 months, they actually find another job to help fulfill their needs, what they need. Yeah. And then, so that's number one with that. And then we discussed in it will members since I don't have a family. If I say something wrong with what you guys brought up, please, because I'm just recalling from our talks. You know, currently with our schedule for next year, our calendar for next year, if it stays as the fourth working day, we get paid on September 5th, October 6th, November 6th, December 4th, January 8th, February 5th, March 5th, April 9th, May 6th, and June 4th. So those would be the days. It was brought up as a concern because of the fourth working month, or excuse me, the fourth working day of the month can be very random, and a lot of people budgeting and going from there, especially that January one around Christmas time, and that check usually coming, you know, in that second week of January, that we would propose to have a set date of the month, a set day to have that check. So to have that come out, whether it be, what's the percentage anymore of direct deposit? Does anybody get checks anymore?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, teachers. Yeah.
What was that?
Teachers included.
Oh, I was just thinking teachers. Real?
Oh, there's not many teachers, but the rest of the staff.
The rest of the staff. Okay. Is that because they're hourly, or no? That wouldn't make any sense. They just chose to have a check. Really? Man, yeah, all my bills are online. Sure.
What is it now? Is it automatically 10 months?
No, right now it's 12. Right now it's 12.
Used to be even.
We used to have that option.
3 to 4 paychecks in June.
Yeah.
To do a catch-up. Yeah, we do 4 paychecks.
So you get
paid
a monthly paycheck, but you get all of them in June.
You get
You get
July and August. June, July, and August in June.
all in June.
Yes, that's currently what it is.
Do you cash them all in June, or do you have to wait?
No, like it's direct deposited into my bank account, 3 checks in June. Like I said, I feel rich in June. Come the end of August, it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Which is scary. Yeah, but I become a lot more financially responsible than my 27-year-old self.
Please go to Washington,
What, Washington?
Washington DC.
Oh,
Become.
no. Well, I'm probably going to be going there next year, but just for a week. Okay, and the set day, you know, obviously it's negotiations. It could be up for negotiation. You know, what that set day may be, you know, the 5th of the month, the 6th of the month, whatever it may be. But we just kind of put a starting point down as the 4th day of each month. And then if the 4th day falls on a day where the school is not in session, the teachers will receive the paycheck on the last previous day of that school, when the school was in session. Okay. So, and once again, it's negotiations. It's just a proposal. It's just a proposal. So,
That would be really hard.
Which one?
I mean, I would consider possibly the 10 to 12 month installments, but doing payday even one day early, I'd be working 24 hours straight.
So is it because it's the 4th that it's, because it's so early in the month, or would it a different date?
Yeah,
be
because
better?
I can only start on the 1st. That's it. I can start on the 1st because we have so many different types of work schedules. But I can start on the 1st.
Oh, to do payroll. You can start on the 1st to do payroll.
If there's a weekend in between, it's wonderful. But if there's not, then it's a lot.
So, like, if it was a set day, like the 7th or 8th of the month, does that matter?
So if we got paid.
If everybody got paid like on, let's say the 8th, and yeah, it's just that those 4 days are jam-packed doing.
So you would, so the 4th,
Need more time, yeah, sure.
First to the 8th after the.
However, I know there's deadlines for a whole bunch of different stuff that I can't bring to mind right now. But, you know, I can look into it, but I'm pretty sure I couldn't do any less than 4.
okay.
4 would kill me.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah, like I said, that's why, that can definitely be up, that can definitely be up. And, what I think, what we had discussed is if we know, you know, and yes, obviously, they could, they, c- the teachers could go through and count the fourth working day of the month and look on here and to see what it is for each month. But if we knew it was if they knew it was the 8th of each month, and then they could set their online bill pay, they can manage their money. They know they got to go from 9th to 8th. That it, especially for families, like I said, for me, it's for myself. I have a hard time relating to that. I don't quite understand that. Um, but it would just be a little bit easier. It's concrete rather than varying each month. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's 10 or 12 months. She said.
Go look into both. Yep, yep, yep.
I don't know why we ever took away the union.
Well, we originally thought when we had discussed it was because that everybody was getting checks, and that takes a lot of work. That takes it does, so that it was, it was hard to manage who was where. And then, so we thought with a payroll, because I'm sure there's a payroll program. With a payroll program, that with things being um, more hopefully technologically advanced, we hope that is, even though last month there was an issue, or this month there was an issue with the payroll program, which I can imagine you were stressing big time over. Um,
So they didn't get their deposit stuff.
yeah, so, uh, yeah. Um, all right, Appendix A, salary schedule. Okay, right now what I'm going to hand you is a synopsis of our area, Class A and a couple of Class B schools, where we rank in our area with Class B and Class A schools, couple Class B schools that are in our area, and the Class A schools in our area, where we rank with our base salary, where we rank with our top end salary, and then where we rank with our top salary and no masters. Yes, I do know, and I have seen the stuff that there are Class A schools that, that our base salary is currently above. We know that. Um, but also, let's take one of those schools, Steve I. Currently, our base salary is ahead of Steve I. This new generation of young adults, teachers that we are getting, it's different. They are. And what Steve I has that we don't have is Missoula. And they have a close area where they can go, they can go to concerts, they can go to shows, they can go out and be around a whole bunch of people their age, and have fun and do that, which we really don't have. So we do know that we are above some of those Class A schools. But these area schools, when we put this together, we thought, why is somebody going to drive past Polson, Ronan, Columbia Falls, Big Fork to come to Libby? When, you know, so we wanted to look at our area schools, um, to see where we rank with our salary. And keep in mind that this excludes longevity, national board, and masters, any other extra stipends, that certain CBAs may have. That's kind of currently where we sit with that. It excludes longevity.
You get a stipend for masters.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it excludes. It doesn't include it. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, if you look at the middle column, and you look at Polson can get to $84,553 with a BA plus 0. And we have to take 90 credits to get to 75,000. Or, you know,
BA plus 0.
their salary schedule, you know how ours maxes out at 11, BA plus 0 maxes out at 11. Their BA plus 0 goes down to, was it 19 or 20? Was it 25? Their BA plus 0 is WOW, yes.
What's your enhanced student population, anybody know?
Ooh,
Obviously, they're gonna get
I-
money.
there would, I would probably say they've got to be in the 500 to 600 range. I would say somewhere in there. Talking with Columbia Falls is got to be, yeah. It's got to be up there.
Mike is bursting at the doors.
So,
BIA.
Bureau of Indian Affairs.
I was gonna say 4 out of the 7 are on reservation.
I said Indian, yeah, I said Indian money, but I didn't know.
Yeah,
They-
reservation.
That's gotta have something to do with it.
Be careful.
What does that stuff look like, by the way?
So, and we understand there are those things. You know, one of the conversations I think that you and I had last year after negotiations is that we are going to, in order to stay relevant, we are going to need to continue to increase our base and make Libby Public Schools an attractive place. A place where people are to move here, or not even to move here, to apply here. Get that first. You know, right now we have a hard time with applications for certified and classified staff. You know, we don't have a huge applicant pool for that. We don't have a huge applicant pool for our administrative position, you know, that we have. You know, we had 3. I'm not real sure that's a huge applicant pool.
I don't know that we should dive too much in, we still need to discuss the STARS Act.
Yeah, that's kind of coming up. That's where we're going. Nope. Oh, you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah. So there are, the information that we got from our representative in Missoula, there are three requirements to get the STARS Act. This isn't in any particular order, but your base salary has to be at least 62% of your average teacher salary for this year. And then it goes 64, 66, 68, 70 in the succeeding years to get the money. The base salary had to be 41,162, at least 41,162. And then the third thing that we got from our representative is that number also had to be 11 times what the QEP was, the quality educator payment, which is $3,783 per FTE. Is that the same understanding that you guys have too? Okay, good. All right, because with legislative and all that stuff, I am not. So they're just getting that just getting that information. Those are the 3 main requirements in order to get that money. If we choose to do this, that supplements $288,794 into that we would get 3,783 times 76.34. That we could possibly get if we
It's very exciting, actually.
if we decide to do this, and go from there.
Especially when it's ongoing.
Yeah. Andy, you gonna talk about House Bill 215 as well?
I don't know 215. I'm sorry.
15, it's 15.
Just 15.
Yeah. House Bill 15.
That I don't know anything about.
He just got a preliminary budget, and then they passed the House bill.
House Bill
15 signed
215.
it.
I keep calling it 215, but
It's,
House Bill 15, that is passed.
it's okay.
The STARS Act.
Is passed.
is not passed.
It is.
No, it is.
252, STARS Act is not.
Not,
I thought I just got in communication that it did
they're believing it's going to.
They
not.
strongly
Oh,
believe it's going to.
because it has bipartisan support. It was like 83 people had voted for it. Okay.
It still has not.
I thought it did.
15 has.
The other big issue is that I think the legislature is understanding that
Yes.
you go to North Dakota, you make more money. You go to Wyoming, you make a lot more money. You go to Idaho, you make more money. You go to Washington, you make a ton more money. And so, part of the teacher shortage, which I'm gonna say, hey, we have to pay people more, I get that. But the other issue, it's just nobody's going into the business anymore. Nobody's going in. I really don't believe it's so much pay as it is just, it's not cool to be a teacher anymore.
It's
Like
difficult.
3 years ago, I watched 12 kids graduate from Montana State University in education. Was that three English teachers, 3 science teachers, 3 that? That's not enough to take care of Belgrade.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And we're in the midst of, we're just at the beginning of this, I believe. So this whole issue is there's 2 very exciting events to help us. And I'll start with
So,
this.
okay, go ahead.
Our population is not going up, it's going down. And if we look at what's taking place in grades kindergarten through 4, these numbers are not good. They're getting smaller and smaller. We're gonna have to look at that as far as saying, how are we going to adjust to that? That's just reality. There's not a whole lot of people that are, not enough babies and not enough people moving here.
Careful what you say there.
Maybe.
Yeah, we don't.
Do you have something to
Right.
share?
Oh no, they're okay. No. We want the right people.
Yeah.
So prior, without these two events, the STARS Act and House Bill 15, prior to that, our preliminary budget was $31,000 less than it would be this year due to loss of student enrollment. So I'm just gonna tell you what that looks like, is the cost of, everybody moves over on the matrix, we're heavy on the matrix on the right and the bottom, we understand that. But when we have $31,000 less than we had the year before, that's declining enrollment and everything. It was bleak. And I'm thinking, oh, how are we gonna do this? And quite honestly, when we started looking at the STARS Act, we were like, this is stupid, there's hardly any money there. And then we figured out, and quite honestly, the last few days, we've been working hard to figure out how this is gonna look like and what's it gonna look like. And I think it's a huge hand for us. If we didn't have this, I'm just gonna tell you, negotiations are gonna go anywhere. You cannot, we are all in this room on this side of the table. We're not, like I said, we're in the midst of trying to pass a mill levy, which I think would be really great because we have a lot of things that need to be fixed, parking lots and all the business. And I don't know how that's gonna go, but I hope it goes okay. And that would be for perpetuity. Add another $250,000 taking care of things that we need to take care of. That being said, if we can work together on this, what we see is we can pull out a pay raise. I think it's pretty nice. And I know you're gonna want more than that, but a 3% raise is completely possible with this. Without it, there was nothing there, folks. That's just reality. But again, we can talk about how this gets implemented. There's not a whole lot of things. I think we're going to be able to do this, but we have to sign a memorandum of understanding prior to.
So they put out this really cool STARS Act calculator, OPI did. And we entered all of our certified employees. We cannot count people like
It's just
Old York or anything like that in this count.
why is that?
They took it out. They said you cannot count anyone that's a physical therapist.
They're not teachers.
They're not teachers.
So what is our number? What is our FTE then?
Our FTE, including our 2 emergency authorized FTEs, which are two, which is Morgan Bell and one other.
It's also a fifth grade teacher.
It's preschool.
That one.
Oh, it's not preschool, I thought there was another.
But they also added in that you can count, now you can count with specific language in your negotiations, you can count the district clerk as an FTE.
The district.
So what is our number? Okay, so that's
76,340.
There's no change, there is one person in here, oops, that has never recertified, and so we can't count her, she's not a certified teacher.
so 76.33. Okay. Well, that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable because we based it off our initial scattergram, which was 76.34. So
Our base salary, we've always started at step 3, right? Step 3 for 3 years. Every new beginning teacher starts at step 3 and stays there.
that was just last year.
Last 2 years.
Yeah.
So we would need to bump up our salary, our base salary to $41,613. That is the actual $41,613. So Leslie, before she left, she entered everybody's information in here. And I'll hand you a copy of this in just a sec. But for us to get up to par from our base salary amount, which was
38,451.
Let's see,
That's what it currently is.
okay, and to bump it up to 41,613.
Yep.
It's gonna cost us about $4,600. That's it. Now, we will get double the QEP per teacher with the stars. So
What do you?
say I'm worth $3,700 because I connected to one QE. Now I'm gonna be, what is that, $7,200?
Why? I don't understand.
It doubles.
Doubles it. She's
It just
They call
doubles
it
it.
educator payment.
Doubles what?
Quality educator pay.
Is that House Bill 15?
I don't.
Is that where House Bill 15 comes?
No, that's 252.
This is 252.
So can you explain that? I don't understand. The double.
That's part of the bill. They're
That's the
doubling
bill.
your QEP.
They're
If you
doubling.
apply for your STARS Act,
So we're gonna get $7,200 per FTE.
and so that would give us an additional $295,000, which would cover a 3% raise and get our base salary up to par and in compliance with the STARS Act, which would be $41,613.
There's some math there
Yeah.
that doesn't seem right to me.
This is done by somebody.
It's the old guidelines.
There's no way I can totally understand that.
Yeah, it's a calculated.
You could get more money from her. Where
To go from 38,451 to 41. To go from 38,451 to 41,613 is definitely more than 3%.
But going to 41, starting, because our base
Well,
is 41, step 3.
You can
Our
start,
average payment,
Our base salary is 38,451. That's what our base salary is. That's what.
but we also start people on that.
But we bumped everybody
we
up.
start people on the third step.
Yeah.
So you're going.
That was a
third step
negotiated
plus
thing for 1 year only.
So that wasn't our base. So I think you're taking the step 3,
From
or
the
you're
numbers.
taking the actual step 1.
Step 1.
Do you have that?
The base,
Right
yeah,
here.
yeah, it's 38,451 is our BA, step 1 BA plus 0.
Yeah.
So our big, well,
That's the, that's the one we're. that's the one we're-
The old one. The old one.
Right here.
I mean,
You got the old one?
Current one. I have the current one.
so actually our base pay was on step 3, it was $40,953.
That's what you're considering the
That's
base
our
pay.
base pay, it has to,
And
Is
then
what?
because it's never.
40?
we never paid anything
49.53.
under that. So that's our base pay.
For all our budget.
Okay, and then so you're saying 49.53 plus 3%.
So if you, if you look at your handy dandy calculator,
Okay,
if you go over to the right, I want you to read. Oh, no, if you go down to, is it Britton or Burlington? I can't tell because it's
Burlington.
too small.
Brewington. Well, they're right next to
To
each other.
get her up to par, because she's on the base pay of $40,950.
It's Britain. Yeah.
It's gonna cost us $662 to get her there. If we give a 3% raise, then that's getting us a little above the mark, but we're staying at that, the 41,615 or 613. I know, it's a lot.
So you're saying 3% on the base throughout the matrix?
Not,
No,
not
3%
not
off of
starting on, we'll be starting,
3% off, 3% off the 49.53.
I think
But what about step 1 and 2?
step 1 and 2, we're not gonna do that anymore. We're gonna start.
Well, no, we are gonna keep step 1 and 2. But in order to be in compliance, we have to change these 3 numbers on the matrix. Now, this beginning matrix number messes with the whole thing.
Correct.
So I mean, it was at 39,605. We're going to just move it to 41,613 or something.
So you want step 1 on the base salary
Very
to be
step
41.
1 and 2, Yep.
And then that,
That's gonna affect the whole thing, and there's enough.
because we don't want to lose the matrix.
So that would be steps 1, 2, and 3.
So is this step 1 BA plus 0?
So the difference is, I think,
Yeah.
you're looking at this and saying, what do we have to do to get step 1? We don't have to do that. And if we were to do that, it would be like a 9% raise, which would cost like $1 million.
$1 million.
9% raise wouldn't cost that much.
No, from our calculation.
What?
1%, we calculate, been calculated.
Actually, 2% would cost the district $100,000. If we gave 3% raise, we would use up the entire $295,000 of net revenue. We would be able to use that and put it towards salaries, not just for teachers, but everyone. This is not just for teachers, it's for everyone, all of our employees. So
But how did we get the money?
we have to apply for
I know, but we get they're called quality educator payments, and they're per FTE, and that's certified staff.
Yes.
That's basically certified staff plus a couple extras, not classified staff.
But within the bill, that's what it details. It's not just for teachers, it's for teachers.
That's what STARS stands for, Student and Teacher Advancement for Results.
But that is a small amount of money, obviously, too, as far as what's going to take place with the professional. That's a small amount.
This would have to be this would be our memorandum of understanding.
Yeah, so the memorandum of understanding is important because it's based off of the law, and this is coming out of both the School Board Association. I mean, they're the one who pushed it. So again, the memorandum of understanding is if you want to look and see what's taking place, that's a good place to look. So, yeah, go ahead.
So it says on under B, additional funds, it's talking about field center informational. It says, although not officially included in this memorandum of understanding, both parties recognize that classified staff currently comprise 25, we did the numbers, 25% of district salaries, while admin represents about 8%. You guys are the rest, so that's 67%.
So there's a lot here. If that makes any sense. We literally,
Yeah.
we've been working on this between dealing with a certain student. And it's been,
All had to deal with them.
the memorandum, yeah. And you could guess, I bet. Honestly, it's a great deal. It really is. Without this, we would, like I said, there's not any room to wiggle on this.
If we don't get the STARS Act, we don't get to give
anything. So we would be $31,000 less than we have the year before. We lost it, no.
What is the HB 15? You didn't explain what HB 15
Yes.
does.
No, you're gonna ask me this, but HB 15 is not, that's actually passed, but that's an inflationary bill that is, how much, what's the total number on that? It's like
205,000.
205,000.
I know.
Uh,
Yeah.
And so that is, those are the two pots of money, 205,000, and then the STARS Act, which honestly,
So we're getting, with the STARS Act, we're getting double. No, I thought you said double. I thought we were getting 7,000 per
Double
FTE.
payments.
What?
With the calculator.
So we're getting-
That they made and provided to us. I didn't come up with these numbers, okay?
Yeah.
We just entered the data. That would give us a net revenue of $295,000 for $295,486.
But you, so you said double payment. So for every FTE, we're getting $7,200?
That's a random guess. I was just guessing.
I know, but if you, so we were told that the QEP payments were $3,783 per FTE.
With the STARS Act, it's double that.
so you're getting that number plus that other one.
Yeah, so he.
Plus what other one?
$7,000.
Well, it's
Double that, maybe.
$3,000 and then.
Double 3783.
Sure.
Is there any possibility that you could work up this matrix and show us what all the boxes would be then with that change?
With the 3%.
I think I gave that to Josh.
She did, right here.
That's 3%, and we'd have to do our magic on the first three boxes and fourth. We'd have to change them from that original number that's in there to the 41,613.
Yeah, and then apply it to all the.
And it's applied to all the.
So I have a proposal on this.
No.
I'm assuming that you have information from the union side of things. And we're working on our side of things. Would it be fruitful to go ahead and say, let's take that information, answer these things, and see, because we think we have it figured out. If we're wrong and there's more money, trust me, I'm not taking that home. I could, I wouldn't get away with it very long. So if we can go ahead and identify some of these misconceptions or things that aren't lining up, if we could go ahead and my feeling is, let's get it settled as far as clearing it up, because it's very possible. There's a lot of complications in this. And if we're wrong and there's more money, trust me, we're not opposed to we'd be happy if there was more money.
Yeah, and we definitely want this. I mean, it was a lot of money that we could use towards retaining people to stay here. It would be a really good come in, and that would be your starting salary right out of the gate.
Stacy and I were watching this on.
We thought it was like 20,000.
We're like, why is the school board association taking these victory laps on $20,000? This isn't doing anybody good. And they were like, oh, wait a minute, that's a different amount of money.
So is House Bill 215, is that yearly or is that just 1 year?
215
No.
or
15, House Bill
Exactly
15?
what I come up with. Now I can take it out of my head.
So House Bill 15 increases our total budget.
By 205,000.
3%.
So, okay. And then 252 is the STARS.
But is that just a 1 year thing or is this?
I think
Continuum.
it is a 1 year thing. I don't.
That goes into our general.
Right.
Just 1 year?
Isn't it probably 2 years until they reconvene?
I think I could be wrong, but I think House Bill
Is it
15, I think it's
Forever,
forever.
till they reconvene and it could go up.
Wait, this is how we do things.
Okay.
That's a reason to clarify that.
We would, at this time, we would like to caucus.
Okay, we can't.
So if BG could, is a conference room?
No, I mean, we'll move. We'll go. Yeah, we'll go. Can we go in the conference room?
Yeah, no problem. That'd be.
I make sure, I don't think we have that open for you guys. We have, if we could get some certified.
She told us so.
We have 3.
She did. Yeah, we have.
Well, no, I know we
But
just talked about
she's-
somebody else.
She was a
Yeah.
retired teacher. She has a license in Arizona.
I know now what you're talking about. Thank you. Wendy and I were making eyes at each other.
But she could still get it so that
Yeah.
to Montana and we could get paid for it.
Exactly.
We contacted.
Yeah.
I'll just put that. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's been contacting each other.
Is that Miss Brewington?
No,
No,
it's
Miss-
Oaks.
Oh, that's what I meant.
She's an older lady and she was in retiring now and she just decided. And she decided she just wanted to. And, but then she.
Matching up. So at this time, we would like to pause what we're doing. We've got to verify some of this on our end and talk with our union rep to try and understand it.
Sure.
Because, I mean, I have a hard time believing that if we were actually getting $7,400 per FTE, that he wouldn't have told us that, the double payments, you know? So
you're
So-
expecting more money from the.
no, I mean, well, you just told us we're getting more money.
No, yeah, that's the whole reason.
You know, we were told 3783 per FTE.
The double is the.
That's the extra you're getting, right? 37.
No, that's what we told we were getting. That's it. That's what the QEP payments were. 3783 per FTE. Not the double is brand new information that we need to verify.
A week, 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to him today. Well, I talked to him today.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, they were talking
Yeah.
about that. And I think that's what's happening. It's happening so fast.
So you're saying, you know, the doubling of the QEP is another $3,700 per qualified permit, right?
Well, that's what
That's what you're saying.
Stacy said. Just 37. Just 3783. That was our information.
Does he mean, I mean, we already get the quality education payment, and then he says that.
No, he's just saying.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean we already get the quality education payment?
We do.
Yeah, so if you're highly qualified,
That's
teacher,
what's
we get
on
$3,000
salary.
for you, 3,000. That's already taking place now.
So there's
Misunderstood your rev when he said you get 37.
But there's
It was
37,
maybe 3,700 extra.
yeah,
It's
per
not
person, more.
But
So we already get
feel
37.
free to.
Oh,
yeah.
So our numbers are the same.
Yes.
so it's a
Okay.
Okay.
it's not okay.
So our numbers are the same.
Thank you.
So yeah, so we have
We're getting
so
plus
we need
37.
to there's a couple things we need to verify and check. And just because, like I said, you could tell by probably the look on my face, like, holy smokes.
In the midst of all of that, I guess you could send an email to me or something like that. If you could say, hey, here's any clarification, we would be, hey, if there's more money than we thought there was, we'd like to chase that down and make sure, because we have this whole big thing taking place on the 15th, it has to be in on.
Yeah.
If we're chasing down the wrong trail, help us.
Yeah.
We're all in favor, we all like money here.
But know that our base salary starts at that 41, whatever, instead of.
40. Well, right now, see, yeah. So, yeah, we need to, just because right now everything that we have conflicts a little. Well, I wouldn't say conflicts, but it's just different. And we just need to. And like I said, legislature is not my forte. So.
I'll send you the digest, as they call it.
The STARS Act calculator, you said you got that off the OPI website?
OPI created it. I don't know if it's accessible from their website or not, but I can find out.
Okay.
For you. And
All
let
right.
you know,
Thank you.
but yeah.
Okay.
Is that all you guys had?
I think we,
Yeah.
Okay.
this is
All right.
plenty of burgers that go in the grinder.
Okay.
And let's all be serious about this, the steak on the plate is the pay, right? I mean, that's
Yes.
the big issue for all of us.
Yes.
Priority number one.
Okay.
So I don't, and I guess I don't want to be behind on this, so as far as even if we can meet again this week, I mean, maybe not this week, but I think early next week, think I don't want to be
That
in a
makes-
situation having to rush, because the MOU has to be in on the 15th. So we can't dawdle with it. I don't want to miss that money.
But go over that paperwork, the MOU and the STARS Act calculating. And let us know. We're here to help. I don't think we'd be spending as much time on it if it was only $20,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a considerable amount.
Would before the Monday school board meeting be a possibility for you guys?
No, three of us coach, and then we have tennis next week. We also have tracks on Thursday.
And I'm gone for softball.
So I'd say we're probably,
That's my concern is,
Yeah.
it's
We've got to get it
very
done.
important, yeah.
I'd say we're probably 2 weeks out,
Mhm.
after Easter break.
Can I ask where the MOU came from? Is that from OPI?
School Board Association.
The Montana NTSBA.
So who's requiring that to be turned in?
They're kind of a legal team, and they're saying this should be in your negotiated contract.
So it's not required from OPI. It's not
No.
required from the state. This is,
It's not, but it's to cover everybody. It's not just to cover our butts, it's to cover everybody's butts.
Well, actually,
Who do we
I
have to?
could be wrong, but I think that's part of it. It has to be,
So that,
MOU has to be signed and consented.
so you're thinking OPI needs this?
I think so.
by the 15th.
And it's, what they're looking for is the memorandum of understanding, I believe.
That, yep.
Yep. So again, I'm here till 6 o'clock. So if we had, even if we had to stay here 7 o'clock, like I said, there's a lot of people on this. This is an incredible gift that we've had. I don't know what would happen if we wouldn't have it. It would have been bad. So
Okay.
we'll stay in touch.
Yes,
Yeah, thank you.
yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Contact you.
Mr. Z, you need help?
yeah, that's fine. Yeah. We can do that.
You're right, it's not in here. Yeah, Brian's not here yet. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
All right. Okay.